All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Gateway Tailgate podcast. I am your host for the week, Adam Freeman, and this is my co-host, I'll say, because there's only two of us, really, Kenny Hutton. Kenny, how are you tonight?
Tired, sticky, because it was so damn humid out tonight, but I'll get over it.
You look like you just got off the course. How'd you shoot?
Good enough to win.
Hey, a W is a W, right?
When I don't feel like I'm playing good, I just ask Charlie what the score is. We play a two-man best ball, so I was like, where are we at? He's like, we clinched the win. I'm like, cool, don't care anymore.
Sweet. Can we quit now?
I carded a couple of pars, though, so that's good for me.
That's good. Yeah, I'll take that. All right, let's jump into it. So this week we got some stuff on tap. The Cardinals are back on a pretty good winning streak, or I'm not going to call it a winning streak. They're on a good run. The Battlehawks clinch a playoff spot and technically home field advantage throughout the playoffs. We'll get to that. And St. Louis City is brutal. I don't know a better way to put it. But first, Kenny, start us off with this week in sports.
All right. May 19th, 1962, St. Louis Cardinals Stan Musial breaks Honus Wagner's NL hit record with his 3,431 first career hit.
May 22nd, 1976, St. Louis Cardinals Reggie Smith hits 3 home runs in a game.
May 24th, 1940, the first night game is held at Sportsman Park, where the Cleveland Indians defeat the St. Louis Browns 3-2.
And the last one, which will lead into our sports trivia for the week, May 25th, 1948, Ben Hogan wins the 30th PGA Championship at St. Louis's own Norwood Hills Country Club. This championship at the time was actually played in a match play format. Did not know that. It was a match play format until I believe the late 60s or early 70s, one of the two. And Hogan won on a Tuesday finish, and he absolutely trumped Mike Terneja 7-6. Just destroyed him. And they did still play the morning and afternoon round, and Terneja actually had an eagle on 16 in the morning round.
Wow.
Yeah, so played pretty well. So that leads into this week's trivia question for you, Kenny. Scotty Scheffler won the PGA Championship this week. His prize money for the PGA Championship was $3.4 million. How much money did Ben Hogan make on his win?
Hold on, I'm just looking up the year again. I'm not looking up anything else.
1948.
So 1948, 3.4. I'm going to actually just say it was roughly $35,000.
You were close in the sense that you just basically did kind of some sort of math, like, what is that, 10%? Roughly 1%? $3,500 is what Ben Hogan won in 1948. The runner-up won $1,500.
Okay, I gotta see something first. I'm gonna lose the outline, but I gotta. Let's see here. U.S. Today.
And other stuff in that tournament. Claude Harmon actually beat Sam Snead in the very first round of that. And really, I think those were the only quality names in this. The other guys I don't know. Jimmy DeMoret, George Fazio, I know him. And then Johnny Bola were the other guys. Oh, Chick Herbert. Forgot about Chick. How can we forget about Chick Herbert?
Okay, so looking up 1940, the dollar was basically valued at $22.84. So you said he won what? $500.
$3,500, yeah.
I'm not a super mathematician, and I know it's not your strong suit, but
nope,
yeah,
not live.
Just under $80,000 is essentially what he won. That's insane.
It's pretty crazy. Just for the S&Gs, do you want to take a guess at what 74th place in this year's PGA Championship took?
I'm gonna guess it's roughly right around there, like $80,000, maybe
23,000. Not a bad day's week. Not really a bad week's work. You know, I'll take that.
So they're cut though, right? What's the cut line? 50?
Yeah. It says the top 74 got paid.
Okay, so I mean.
So I guess they cut it 74, 75.
I mean, listen, I'm in no place to turn down $24,000 for a weekend. I don't know how many of us would be, but hey, whatever.
And for those that are curious, that was Byung On that won that. Tom Kim. Yeah, Tom Kim also won just under $24,000. So shout out to those guys. They made some money. about a month of my paycheck they've made in a week. So, or no,
4
I guess
days,
it's a quarter of my paycheck. That's why I don't do math on the air. All right, let's get into this. Let's jump into the bad news first and rip off the Band-Aid on St. Louis City. The week started out really well for about 50 minutes when they played on Wednesday. They took a 2-0 lead against Sporting Kansas and then just absolutely shit the bed. And I don't even know how to explain it. They ended up tying or drawing for those soccer professionals. And they go 2-2 in Sporting Kansas in the absolute worst fashion. Completely disappointed in that turnout, especially at home in a game that we should have won. And then we go to Minnesota, and I'm pretty sure that we could have played better, Kenny. I know for a fact Sean could have played better. Like that could have been better. They get absolutely blown out. They lose 3-0 with zero effort reflecting the scoreboard.
So I did not watch Saturday's game. So don't ask me anything about the game. And I'll tell you why I didn't watch Saturday's game. Because I was so pissed off, I threw stuff on the ground legitimately when Sporting scored their second goal. And you could feel it coming. Like, they just didn't do anything the last 30. And, like, here's my biggest frustration with City today. So we were talking all day in the text thread about how this has got to be this has got to be it for Melberg, right? And then they ran him out in a press conference. And hold on, now let me jump to Twitter, because then he says this brainiac quote on how he sees the situation: pressure. I always put myself on pressure on myself. We had a really good start to the season.
Like a game?
Is he watching the same game I am?
No. Oh, I mean, I will give them credit. I think they did play well for 2 games. But they haven't won a game since March, and it's now mid-May.
So that was a Matthew Rocchio tweet, and I said a really good start to the season, and Rocchio actually replied. He said he's referring to the first 4 games, and then somebody else goes, yes, the golden era of Olaf Ball.
Shout out to that guy.
I mean, I'm frustrated. Like, I get it. Like, sometimes coaching takes a while, and I'll be the first guy who's like, you got to give Drinkwitz time, you got to give Gates time, you got to give Montgomery time to work his system, whatever the situation is. But it's clearly not working here. These players are clearly not playing for him.
No,
like,
not at all.
Get him out of town. Admit you made a mistake. I think Lutz even pretty much said that on KMOX. Like, it's not going well right now. Well, no shit, dude. So...
Thank you for stating the obvious. I have one point that I want to make off of kind of today's press conference with everybody. Is I'm pretty sure that Lutz came out and said, and locally here in St. Louis, we had some rough storms blow through Friday night. Unfortunately, 5 people lost their lives in it. And apparently Lutz went into the locker room before the game on Saturday and said, we're playing this game for St. Louis. And those players shit the bed like no other. They should all be fired. Every single one of them, if that was what was said, needs to be let go from this team. Because that's just ridiculous. Like, that's not even like getting a banner hung or having a celebration of somebody and coming out flat because the game was delayed 10 minutes or whatever it is. Like, you literally have your boss's boss coming down and saying, let's put effort into this game. And they put 0 effort into this game. Like, I don't even know where to go. I had notes on them and I crumpled them up because it just made me furious. I do want to point out the 2 notes that Sean actually suggested before the game started. He was right on one of the 2. The first one being, if Xande Silva does not start, we should fire everyone. He did not start. Everyone should be fired because of that. Also, that if Watts starts, we should fire everyone. Watts did not start, thankfully. But, I mean, I put it on Twitter, and we had 10 people respond. Josh Yarrow is an absolute liability on that defensive line. I forgot what the stat was as far as how many goals that defensive line has allowed in the last 3 or 4 games, but it is absolutely absurd. And I get it, injuries are a big part of that, but come on. Like, we have to do better than this. Like, it's almost embarrassing. I saw another stat today that was 9th place in the MLS, averages about 44 points, I believe is what they said, and we currently are at 11, which basically means we need to average 1.5 per game over the rest of the season. And I don't see that happening. There is no way this team
They can't win. They can't put the ball in the net. And when they do, they give up the same amount. Like, I know you guys were kind of talking about it in depth last week. I think this team has lost its runway. Like, people are going to stop showing up. And that's a shame because we work so hard as a community to bring MLS to St. Louis. And to see it fall on its face in a little over 2.5 years is ridiculous. Like, the missteps that Lutz has made, and I'm not even putting all of this on Melberg. I mean, we protect Kojima in the expansion draft, and then we traded him anyway. Like, if you didn't want the kid on your team, don't protect him. Like, the Indy and Vasilev stuff, like, being traded, like, right before the season started, like, what is going on?
Yeah, and that's the other point that I wanted to make. This team has zero identity, especially with Leuven not in the 11. And again, we've talked about this week after week. We have no idea what's going on with him personally, and T's and P's that hopefully everything is okay. But to not have him in the lineup, the only real name that you have to support on this team is Berkey. Klaus doesn't get playing time. I mean, hell, our forwards didn't even start the game. Like, I know that they tried to put, I think it was Hartle up on top. He has nobody to pass him the ball. Klaus sat on the bench. Betcher sat on the bench. Silva sat on the bench. Pompeu started the game. At least he had that going for him. I mean, that was a benefit. I just don't know where we go. And I think Lutz absolutely fumbled the ball with Vasilev. I think he fumbled the ball with Parker. And I'm saying it now, Berkey's not coming back. I see no reason for him to come back. He screams and yells at everybody on that team every single time that he stops a shot. I don't see him. They would have locked up a deal at this point if he wanted to be here. And
yeah, I think so too.
And that is an absolute mismanage of your roster. And Lutz should be fired just for that. And honestly, he should never show his face in St. Louis ever again because of that.
I mean, my final point would be is with all the devastation that happened downtown on Friday, and if anybody's watching this, we are thinking about the city. $1.7 billion in damage, and you walk down to the locker room and tell your team that, and that's the effort they put out. Like, these guys don't care. No. And one thing I know about St. Louis fans is you gotta have some passion.
Yeah, and the biggest thing about, like we talked about last week, and you brought it up briefly about losing the runway for the team. Somebody that we know tried to sell us tickets to the game on Wednesday against Kansas, and he had a very, very hard time selling those tickets. That game would sell in a heartbeat, no matter when, against Kansas.
And here's the thing. I'm going to consider it a loss against Sporting KC because guess what? There are actually our rivals. You have to beat your rivals. So, on to the next topic.
On to the next topic, and that's the St. Louis Cardinals. And I will say they are hot, Kenny. Just as hot as the St. Louis summer. If I did my math correct, in their last 17 games, not counting tonight, in which I believe at the last update I got, they are winning, and we are recording this Monday night for everybody at home. They're winning 10-0 against Detroit tonight.
60-cent soda tomorrow.
Yeah, 60-cent sodas tomorrow. We'll take that all day long. But in their last 17 games, they are 13-4.
Yeah, that's impressive.
That's impressive. They had a hell of a week last week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they were in Philadelphia. They took 2 of 3, including splitting a doubleheader, in which the second game they won 14-7. Against Aaron Nola, of all people, which is pretty awesome. And then they went to the other side of the state, and they beat the brakes off of the Royals in Friday's game. They won 10-3. And then 2 close games, really. 1-0 against the Royals. Shout out to Jordan Walker, who got the solo home run for the win. Also, Miles Michaelis, very good week. And then they lost 2-1 on Sunday, which, okay, cool, no big deal. Like, you're not going to win them all. It's baseball. I'll take it. Again, in the last 17 games to be 13-4, I'll take that all day.
And I mean, the Royals are not bad competition.
No.
I think there was a crazy stat, like the Royals were like 4th or 5th in wins in the American League. They might have even been 3rd, and they were still 3rd in the Central. Like, that division is loaded top to bottom. And to go to take 2 or 3 from them, I even, I gave my father-in-law and brother-in-law shit. I was like, I thought you guys were supposed to be good at baseball when we beat them on Friday. I'm still not sure if I know what the Cardinals are, though.
No.
So
they can hit.
I'll take this for right now. I still think kind of what we talked about last week, where we really need to see where we're at come July 1st. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to be the team that sells? Or do you see a situation where the Cardinals could be close to the Cubby Bears and you could go out and add a starting pitcher?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, their lineup is good. Ivan Herrera is back playing every day. He's currently hitting 429 this year, which is
That'll do.
impressive. Brendan Donovan is having an all-star season right now. He's hitting 330. Lars Nootbaar, even though he's only hitting 250, is still hitting numbers comparable to like Judge and Ohtani. He's been hitting that way every time that he plays. Like every game that he plays and he plays well, he just can't stay healthy. News today, Nolan Arenado gets bumped out of the cleanup spot and now he's hitting in the 6-hole. He actually suggested that, according to reports, which I find very interesting. Contreras is having a pretty decent year, nothing crazy. And I think overall, like the big part of it is their offense stays consistent. Yes, they do have a game where they get 10 and then they get 1. I understand that, but that's baseball. It's just how it's going to roll. Pitching is the big problem.
So who's hitting cleanup? Who hit cleanup tonight? Contreras?
I believe it was Herrera. I'm pretty sure, and actually I could probably pull it up while we're looking. I'm pretty sure Contreras was 3 and Herrera was hitting 4.
I mean, there is philosophy to that, right? Like your guy in the 6-hole should theoretically be just like your guy in the 3-hole, like that proven bat. But they might see better pitches because they're towards the better bottom of the lineup now.
Oh no, Contreras was hitting 4. Herrera was hitting 5, which still makes sense. And yeah, and you're 100% right. Like you want power at 4 and 5. And you're not getting it from Arenado. He's hitting 240 this year. I mean,
yeah,
I'll take Contreras' power over Arenado's lack of power.
Yeah.
Even they're hitting the same average, I'll take the opportunity for Contreras to hit 25 home runs all day long. And then Herrera's been lights out. He's 2 for 4 again tonight. So,
dang.
I like it. Like I said, their offense is doing really well. Sonny Gray pitched really well tonight. He had 6 innings pitched, 10 Ks. Before they went into a rain delay, so I'll take that. And you know what? Somebody said it on Twitter, and I laughed when I saw it. Miles Michaelis is pitching his way to an all-star appearance.
I don't want to talk about it. Somebody asked me about him today at work. He's a Cubs fan, and he's like, what about Miles Michaelis? And I'm like, God, that guy is just the bane of my existence. But he actually did ask me another question and what I thought about it. I think the question is should Cardinal fans start going back to the game?
I think so.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I got a thought, but go ahead. I got to puzzle it together.
I don't want to see necessarily 44 or 45,000 packed in there screaming and acting like the best fans in baseball. But if you got 30, I'd be very happy with that.
An actual 30, not a reported 30.
Yeah, exactly. We all know the game that's being played there. I do think it's time to give the Cardinals the benefit of the doubt. If you're thinking about going to the ballpark, I think you should. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I stand, too. I think you have to support the players. Mm-hmm. I think that's where it has to come from. You're definitely not there supporting the fact that Mo hasn't done anything with the team. Basically, the MLB probably forced them to go out and sign Phil Maton to make it so that they sign somebody this offseason. So you're not supporting that, but I think you got to, and I think that you get a half full stadium. If you can get 20 to 30, that should be a pretty decent, pretty decent crowd, and at least get some sort of energy back in there. But I do think they deserve it. They're playing well. Keep it rolling. And they have a relatively average schedule coming up. They've got Detroit, Arizona, Baltimore before they have Texas, Kansas City, and the Dodgers again. I mean, you take advantage of these next really like 6 out of 9 games. I mean, they beat Detroit tonight. So really, you want to call it the next 12 games. You take advantage of that. And who knows where you're at as you go down into Arlington and then make the trek back home for Kansas City and LA. So
yep.
It could be a decent run for this team, and that puts us into the beginning of June, and probably that's about 4th of July, like you said, is probably the point where we need to be like, okay, this is the team that we've got, and let's roll from there.
Absolutely.
A couple other notes for the St. Louis Cardinals. Real quick, Colton Wong announced his retirement today. absolutely fantastic second baseman. Like, he is a stereotypical Cardinals player through and through.
Them not signing Colton Wong that year was honestly, in my opinion, the biggest mistake they made.
Yeah.
Colton Wong is awesome. I hope he enjoys retirement. He gets to move back to the Big Island.
You can't beat that, right?
No, you really can't. So.
And then the other one is Matt Carpenter announced his retirement earlier. I guess it technically is Friday or Saturday this weekend.
Oh, you mean the salsa magnet?
Salsa magnet, right? The interesting thing off of that, there's a lot of smoke around him becoming a manager very quickly.
Oh,
I don't know if I'd take him, but I think I'd take him over Pujols or Yachty, or I'd take him over Pujols. I wouldn't take him over Yachty. Yachty's my number one choice.
I mean, here's my thing. Ultimately, like, Pujols is actually managing something, whereas
but Pujols only managed All-Stars. That's the part we have to remember.
I mean, that's fair.
So, I don't know. We'll see where that goes. I don't think that the Cardinals have to win a World Series for Ollie to be back next year, in my opinion. That's kind of I think that's where Chaim Bloom has to draw the line. You win a World Series, you're back. But other than that, I think Bloom moves on. Let's go to the next good topic for St. Louis, right? Cacaw is law, and Cacaw has locked down a playoff spot.
Absolutely.
The Battlehawks beat the Birmingham Stallions on Saturday afternoon-ish, 29-28. It was a very good game between both teams, really. I think that was probably one of the better XFL, UFL games we've seen in a long time. They won with... And I was still trying to figure out the three-point conversion, like the way that they play it, but Anthony Beck went for the one-point conversion to take the lead instead of going for the three-point conversion, which everybody thought they should take the three. They got the win, and then the defense held strong, forcing a fumble to be able to get the ball back on 2 minutes to go, something like that.
No, it was like seconds, I think.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was within a few seconds because if they would have kept the ball, they would have been in range for Birmingham to kick a field goal because they were inside the dome, and Mevis can kick from anywhere.
Yes.
So they. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say they lock up the spot with that. They will play the DC Defenders, and they lock down home field advantage because DC cannot use their home stadium. So the Battle Dome is going to be absolutely rocking, whether the Battlehawks are the home or away team this week, or in a couple weeks. So it won't matter at that point.
Yeah. So I think if memory serves, a 1 point extra point is from the 2. So like the traditional NFL 2-point play. 2 is from the 5, and to get 3 is from the 10. I understand the logic to go for the 3, right? Because then that puts you're just getting tied with Mevis kicking a potential field goal.
Mm-hmm.
But that 3-point play is risky. Like, I don't know if I've seen more than 1 or 2 actually get converted. I was very happy with the play. The defense looked great, though. I mean, they really did. I was doing a bunch of stuff in the house. We have a TV outside. I had the Battlehawks game on, so as I was doing part of my project, I would check in on the game, and I missed an interception for a pick 6. I was like, holy cow! I just moved the ladder, and I'm getting an alert on my phone. So I watched the end of the game, and yeah, that defense, a little bend don't break kind of style, which in this kind of level, this is like the college plus, I would call it, right? Mm-hmm. Some of these guys were probably pretty good in college, but never got a cup of coffee in the NFL. So I thought it was a really good game as far as their standards. If the UFL could produce games like that on a regular basis, spring football would catch on.
I agree. Yeah. And if they get in the right cities.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which brings me to my next point. Did you see the clip? I believe it was Jordan Teamu about complaining about how St. Louis gets to host 2 games, basically.
Mm-mm.
So I guess they interviewed him, and I guess they're in Arlington or wherever for back in their camps or whatever before they travel to their home cities, because we can't keep teams in home cities. And he was complaining that DC basically has to go on the road, whether they're home or away, and no matter what the regular season goes. And he was complaining about how it kind of puts a little bit of a wet blanket on the end of the regular season. It doesn't really matter, and that in the end it's going to be the 2 of them playing in St. Louis, no matter who wins the regular season championship between those 2. And to that point, I understand where he's coming from. I do get it. I do think that there needs to be something done. That it probably should have been a neutral site game. They probably should have gone into Arlington or San Antonio or one of the cities that don't have don't have a playoff team. But I would like to point this out. St. Louis got 30,000 fans once again at a game for the Battlehawks. Now, I understand that that makes it a massive home field advantage, but in a league that is struggling for attendance, how can you go anywhere else?
I mean, Jordan Tiamo should know. Like, he is a former Battlehawk. Like, he should understand. Now, I'm sure that quote was made with some understanding. Like, shit, we're basically getting screwed out of a home game. And that also tells me they don't think they could beat the Battlehawks at home. Because I don't think they beat the Battlehawks at home. They beat the Battlehawks in D.C. So, ultimately, here's what I would say. This is the world's smallest violin playing Don't Cry For Me. Like, this is the structure of the league, unfortunately. You guys, the league, the UFL, does not have enough influence or sway to be able to say, hey, I need you to move an event. Like, I believe the Dallas Stars moved a Katy Perry concert for the Western Conference Finals. Like, you're a secondary or tertiary event for some of these stadiums. This is what the Dome does, right? Like, we do Battlehawks games. There's other stuff that obviously goes on there, but the Battlehawks are the priority. If you walk through that building, there's not, like, Ram stuff on the wall. I can tell you I found some Ram stuff in a concession stand.
Did you take it home?
No, because it was literally a pizza maker, and it mentioned the Rams on it. But, like, you walk through that dome, and the Battlehawks are everywhere. Like, they even changed the carpet in the suites and put the Battlehawks logo on it. Like, I'm sorry, Jordan. I understand your frustration, but deal with it, dude.
Yeah,
if
in
you're
the
better
end,
team,
St.
go
Louis
out there
fans
and
are
beat
paying
them.
your salary.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sounds kind of shitty to say, but you're right.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is that the XFL, or the UFL knows that, or USFL, whatever the hell they call themselves now. They understand that, and they know that they have the opportunity that for basically 2 weeks, they get to advertise a playoff game in St. Louis. That first playoff game might have 45,000 people in it.
Again, I am stressing The Rock, or The Rock's ex-wife. Pack up your shit from Arlington and move it to St. Louis.
It's 100%.
And base the league out of here. Play both conference games at the Dome and sell the tickets as a 2-pack. You get both games, right? Like, treat them like a conference basketball tournament. You get both games. Dude, that game would be nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, that I 100% support that idea.
And I mean, it's greedy, right? We're from St. Louis. We want St. Louis to do good things, but like, the league thrives here. If you ever want it to be a decent league and a true feeder for the NFL, you need to put it where the NFL's not, and you need to embrace the cities that are embracing it. Like, you need to find more St. Louis's.
I mean, in all honesty, they should find a way to buy the old Rams practice complex. I mean, that would be the best opportunity for them. There's 3 outdoor football fields. There's an indoor football field. There's an entire office facility there. It's relatively close to a lot of residential areas. There's a whole bunch of hotels in that area as well. They could use that practice facility as their headquarters, and it would be easier for travel. It would be easier for everything. And it's 10 minutes from the airport. Like, I mean, I understand that you got to go where they got to go, but let's face it, that is the best option for them to be in, and I think they would get a ton of support for all the teams. It wouldn't just be the Battlehawks. It would be every team would support it. So, yeah, they should figure out something, but either way, Kakao is law, and we're winning a championship. I have that feeling coming. All right, let's jump to a couple national things. One I'm going to pop on you at the last second, Kenny, just for a quick thing, but the first one being the PGA Championship. Scottie Scheffler wins his 3rd career major, the 2nd phase of the Grand Slam, and I'm pretty sure he goes to the U.S. Open. I think it's at Oakmont. I got to remember correctly. But he was the clubhouse leader after the first round of the U.S. Open when he was an amateur. So a little bit of history there. I don't think that it's anything to really watch out for. I'm not going to pick him to be my U.S. Open champion. But Scottie Scheffler does what he does.
Can't knock it. I mean, Oakmont looks pretty tough right now, too, coming up for the U.S. Open. They're talking about wanting the rough to be over 5 inches tall. I loved it. They let a bunch of golf influencers, and while I'm not like a huge sit down and watch a whole tournament kind of guy unless it's the Masters, watching the Bob Does Sports guys play Oakmont was just...
Yeah, that was pretty good. Pretty good watch right there. But yeah, Scotty does it. John Ron falters. He got within 1 shot, I believe, with 3 or 4 to play and just absolutely fell off the rails. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here, and then moving forward. I mean, he might be our next opportunity to see a career Grand Slam. Who knows what you're going to get out of Jordan Spieth? Xander Schauffele would be in that area. But
PGA, so he needs the Open and the U.S. Open.
He needs both Opens, yeah. It's a possibility. But the other one I'm going to spring on you, NHL playoffs. Western Conference Finals. Dallas and Edmonton are in the West. And in the East, Carolina and Florida. Who do you got going into the Stanley Cup?
Okay. I think the Dallas Stars are primed for the West. I don't know if this series is over in 5, 6, or 7. My gut tells me go Stars in 7. Because I don't know if Edmonton has the defense and the goaltending that Dallas will get. Miro Heiskanen, my buddy Oleg, he might be watching this, mentioned Miro Heiskanen and said he is arguably one of the most underrated defensemen in the league. And I was like, no, man, there's no way Miro's underrated. Like, everybody talks about him. And I sat there and really thought about it, and I was like, dude, nobody talks about him. I know about him because we play in the Central. Like, who is actually talking about this kid? He might be on the same level as Makar. I don't see how Edmonton gets past that. I honestly don't, and I'm starting to get a soft spot in my cold black heart for Connor McDavid. But still, right now, while you play for a Canadian team, I don't want to see a Canadian team win the Stanley Cup. I love my piece of trivia.
It's a fantastic one. I agree with the West. I think that Dallas comes out. I would say Dallas in 6. I think that number feels right. I don't think that Edmonton's going to be strong enough to push it to 7. And honestly, 6 to me could be pushing it. I think Dallas is just better. I mean, they were the team that I thought originally would win the Stanley Cup. So,
I mean, if Rantanen and Wyatt Johnson play to an equal level as McDavid and Draisaitl, I don't see how Edmonton can win. I really, truly don't. So, there's that. I think the Stars win. I'm not comfortable putting a game amount on it, so I'm just going to say 7.
So out east, we have Carolina and Florida. Florida comes back to beat Toronto in 7 games after being down 2-0. They've looked really good the last really 4 games, even with the loss against Toronto in Game 6. I think I'm going to take Toronto. Toronto's never going to do a Stanley Cup again. They've been jinxed, and they're just going to fall apart. Poor Craig Berube. I'm going to go with Florida. I think Florida gets back to the Stanley Cup and repeats as Eastern Conference champions. Their brand of hockey is just, it's impressive. And I think that they're going to basically just outmuscle Carolina and be able to pull it out.
Yeah, I think Carolina's curse is going to be that they've been off too long, which is we always tend to see that, a slow start for the team that's been off. A sidebar, if you're going to pay Mitch Marner $13 million or $13.5 million, why? Oh, I know there is a certain fan of this podcast that wants Mitch Marner on the St. Louis Blues, and I am telling you, you are paying for Jordan Kyrou. I mean, Mitch Marner
Jordan Kyrou
is no better than Jordan Kyrou right now. He doesn't show up in the playoffs. And the only reason I'm mentioning this is because of that picture that went around on Twitter last night. I'm sure you saw it. He's screaming at the team, yelling, "Let's effing go." And somebody points out, and it just ruined it for me. He goes, "You can't yell at your team like that with a dry head of hair."
No, not at all.
Anywho, getting back to the matchup at hand, I think Florida is a wagon, as they would say. I think they're going to their 3rd Stanley Cup in a row. And I think they do it in like 5 or 6 games.
I would support that. I think 6 for sure. 5 is highly likable. All right, so that wraps it up, Kenny. Let's hit our socials.
All right, you can find us at all the socials: YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky, Twitter, and now finally Instagram.
I was so excited.
I know. I was so happy for you too. You can find us at Gateway Tailgate Podcast. And if you haven't yet on the YouTube, like, subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated.
All right, well, let's wrap this up. Great week, Kenny. We are the Gateway Tailgate Podcast. Be sure, like Kenny said, like and subscribe, and we'll catch you again next week.
Adios.